Welcome to Brunch with REC, another edition.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning and welcome.
Nice to start a Saturday morning with you guys.
Today, we are going to be conversing about really all things, as I said earlier, plexes, duplexes, triplexes, multiplexes. We do a lot of new builds here at REC Canada, but as always, during the week, people call us and they're like, well, we thought you only did new builds. But we have 54 agents on our team. That's seamless. And big shout out to Mr. Bobby Pume, Director of Team Operations, helps organize the process when a new insider, a new REC insider comes into our world and they're looking for more than just new builds. I mean, guys, we're not here, as the kids say, we're not here to flex. We're not here to impress you. I want you to know where all this data is coming from. Our team helps a little over 750 families a year right across the board, meaning pre-con, new builds, income properties, helping first-time home buyers. And then I think the sexier stuff that people like to get started with, and you talk about this all the time, Jacob, is, well, I want to get a multiplex. I want to get an apartment building
And for good reason.
with 37 units. Well, Simos, you say for good reason. Why do you say that?
The biggest and top reason people want to typically graduate into Plex, and even a duplex, a fourplex, it's not typically the first thing people buy. The first thing they're going to buy is a new little condo to get started, to understand, to start landlording, an income property where they're going to maybe convert into the basement, creating a duplex. But then once they see the cash flow and the advantage of the duplex, it comes the conversation, well, what if I had 8 under the same roof? What if I had 6 under the same roof? And that's where we created the multifamily division within our organization, which is headlined by Jacob, and that's why he's here to give us some anecdotal evidence of what's happening on the street with live examples right now. Like Carlton is online right now. He's in a deal right now. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So why did Carlton and Mary want to do this? So we can speak specifically to Carlton's case, which is literally 90% exact same reasons behind it, like every other client who wants to go in. And I want to pass the mic to this brilliant young man who runs our commercial division in my personal book of commercial business, mind you, Jacob. So Jacob, Tell us exactly, and we don't even need to say again, Carlton, we gave you enough shout outs today, I think. but it's starting to get weird. I don't want to tell people your business. So let's talk about, let's create a template as to what that person looks like, because they're all literally hairs apart. For as far as their motivations and what they're looking for. So what are they looking for?
Yeah, thanks for the intro. I think we all see it, right, coming in the door, and there's many different lead intake engines we have, but most of them do land on my desk to look at and to analyze. We see the same type of investor coming in the door, right? And they're all coming from, I want to say, different education points. Right. But they are coming in, I have one pre-construction condo. I have one single family house that was inherited or a good opportunity came up and I purchased it. But, that's great. We have the it's covering itself. It's appreciating well. But now let's substitute income. Right. And
I want to start slowing down is typically the first conversation. So we see actually an age may be tied to this too. Yeah. We're seeing those late 40s into late 50s where people are saying like, I'm tired of the rat race. I'm tired of my existing circumstances, meaning I'm only relying on my job and my RSP, which has been underperforming for 15 years.
Yeah.
I think that's a big commonality for that buying range, for that buyer profile. So if anybody resonates with this, they need to understand that you do have options. These deals do exist, and you can replace your income with real estate a lot easier than you may think.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jacob, I what I hear a lot of when people come into my world is one of the main reasons they want to get into multiplexes, even more than the duplexes and the triplexes, is from a financing perspective. Yeah. Can you touch on the difference when you get into multiplexes? What's the difference when it comes to financing?
Well, yeah, just bringing it back just
Yeah.
slightly to what Simeon said, because we can tie this in. The intake does go exactly like that. It's what's the reasoning, and I'll get to the financing. It's all ties in here, but how old are you? How many kids do you have? Where are you in your life? Right? Is this to substitute income, or is this to build generational wealth? Not to say one or the other isn't going to do both, but what are we focusing on right now for the first property?
That's right.
Right. And that's what is so important, rather than how much cash do you have.
Because that's what's going to
It's-
drive what market you go into.
Exactly.
So if you're looking to generate, like off the bat, your goal is to create generational wealth, you need to go into a very hot market with high appreciation, low cash flow, because it's going to grow. There's a reason it's priced that way.
Toronto, for example, right?
And the exact polar opposite goes for the couple, for the buyer who's looking to replace income.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They need to go to a tertiary market where you can buy at a bigger cap rate, meaning that your cash on cash return is cash flow based, not appreciation based.
You got it.
And now you can take. All markets are going to slowly go up,
Yeah.
but they're, as we very well know, different markets serve different needs. And in this specific asset class, it really plays a huge role.
And that's where we can tie it into the financing, right? Because the next set of questions off of that is okay, well, what do the finances look like? Right? It doesn't matter if we're looking at the long-term play or the short-term play or the appreciation versus cash flow, but what does your portfolio look right now? And that's the second, I would say, most important thing is a lot of investors come to us and they go, hey, well, look, we bought the single family, we bought the duplex, then we bought another duplex, then we bought another duplex, and now we're kind of in this position where our bank, we've done 3 different banks, 3 different mortgages, and we're tapped out.
Right.
Where do we go? Right? Where do we go from here? And that's where we can bring in the financing aspect, which is it's really nice to have that.
Because you're buying
So how is it different
Yeah.
then? So talking specifically about commercial financing, right? How many doors do you need to have minimum to actually qualify for commercial financing? How does that work? Because we hear a lot of different numbers, but I want to settle this once and for all. How many doors are needed minimum? And what is the lender looking for? Because you have a lot of experience in this.
Well, it's not so black and white, so binary, but as a rule of thumb, right? And that's what I like to go off of. Few different options. So we're looking at typically 6 doors plus. Some banks will do 5. Some consider 5 residential, right? So I think RBC, if you bring 5 doors to RBC, they can bring that under the residential umbrella. Just as one example. But typically 6 doors and up,
Right.
it's going to be considered commercial. Right.
And that would mean that when the lender's looking at, we are going to pick on Carlton and Mary today because we just love them so much. Let's use Carlton and Mary as the example. They're not looking at their income only. They're looking at the revenue that's coming in from the actual building.
Correct.
Now, would you say, and this is really to any one of us, is it like 100% of the revenue that's coming in from the building and 0 on Carlton and Mary, or is there a somewhat of a hybrid as well?
Yep. So it is going to be a hybrid approach, right? And that's one common misunderstanding in the industry for people looking to get into commercial. It's I'm completely retired.
So it's always a hybrid approach.
It's always
Okay.
a hybrid approach.
So the person behind the economics of the building
Mhm.
is always a factor in the financing.
Yeah.
Bar none.
And that needs to be put out into the public. That needs to be said, because we do get a lot of investors, and I'm not saying it's a no, we shut the door and say, sorry, we can't help you.
Right.
There's a million options to go down. We can do private, we can do, a million different things, but they are going to look at the investor.
Right.
They're going to look at the investor and they're going to say, are you paying your bills? Are you making income? Because I would say 10 out of 10 times with a new commercial mortgage, it's your first commercial purchase, there's going to be a personal guarantee on that mortgage, no matter what. I would say maybe 9.5 out of 10.
And we're
right?
actually seeing that a lot more across the board. It's
Yes.
actually almost impossible to get any financing at this point, literally, without personal guarantees.
Yeah.
And I'll extend to as much as like a retail lease, like where never did you have to put a personal covenant. The market has become so volatile due to these pandemics, due to all these things, where I haven't seen a deal go through in the
Mhm.
last year, almost 2 years, where covenant,
Yeah.
personal security, personal guarantee was not a factor.
Yeah, I think if you have a absolute monster of a corporation,
Right.
Starlight, or
Okay, okay,
yes, but yes,
We're not Starlight.
No, we're not Starlight.
Starlight is one of the biggest apartment groups in the country. For those who don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's what's nice about it, and I spoke with Austin Mulder about this on my podcast just the other day.
Right.
But we were saying it's nice to know, because when you're buying commercial, yes, you are doing the personal covenant, but the bank is going to do the due diligence for you. And I know, Simeon, we talk about this all the time, but you're coming in, every stitch of due diligence material. So the leases, the building condition reports, the expense reports, you're going to want to see that, but the bank is also going to see it, right? So at the end of the day, it's nice to see that, hey, is the bank going to give me the mortgage on the building? Because they're putting their faith and their trust in the asset,
Right.
not in the owner.
Okay, and now,
Right.
and I just want to really go down in
Please.
terms of the financing for a second. Is it always a minimum of 25% down when you're 6 stores and above? Can we get some financing for multiplexes with 20%, or is it more than that at times?
So that's kind of one of those scenarios where there's a million different ways to go about.
But it
that.
heavily depends on the person applying.
Yes.
That's where the hybrid comes in. There is no, these are the rules, and this is what it is. Because the banks are competitive.
Right.
The banks want your business. They're not in the business of lending for not lending money. So if people are like, oh, the banks are giving me a tough time. It's not the bank, bro. It's you. And it's your deal that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So the good news, the absolute amazing news about commercial deals is that you have some of the brightest, most brilliant minds on the planet who the banks hire and pay very handsomely to analyze the deal and make sure that they don't miss what you may have missed. So you list your apartment building for $5 million, Jas.
Mhm.
I want to buy it. I love it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pay $6 million for it because I think it's the best asset on the planet Earth. Okay, so I put my deposit down. We do a deal. You agree. It's conditional on due diligence. We tied up the deal like we always talk about. We do all the things. And now I take my package. I take my rent roll. I take my expenses, all the things that I asked you for, and I hand it over to my broker at TD.
Yeah.
TD opens the file. They take a look at it and they assign it to Jacob, the underwriter. Jacob has to now look at what? What do you have to look? Service ratios. Explain that process. Pretend you're an underwriter for 5 minutes.
So what I'm going to look at when I get the file is going to be on the highest level, income versus expenses.
Of the asset.
Of the asset.
Of the building.
Starting
Of the
there.
building.
Yes.
Will the building cash flow? If 1 unit's vacant, will the building cash flow? If 2 units are vacant, will the building cash flow?
And that's the service ratio.
And that's debt
That has to
service
be
ratio.
$1.10, $1.20, $1.30, depending on the bank's underwriting parameters.
Yeah.
What does $1.20 mean? What does a service ratio of $1.20 mean? So 1.2.
Yeah. So 1.2. Are you looking for the math, or are you looking
No,
for
I'm looking for the explanation because a lot of these terms get thrown out in the marketplace.
Yes.
So in order for a deal to start making sense, before they even look at you as a purchaser, the building has to be able to service its debt at $1.20.
Yes.
So for every dollar coming in, for every dollar of cost, $1.20 in income.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if that spread doesn't exist, very simply put, there's nothing to even look at.
Mhm.
So if it's a great building, they'll look at $1.15. If it's like a 24 plex,
When you say great building,
like a great, it's in great condition,
Right.
More units,
location,
AAA market.
AAA
Yeah.
market,
Yeah.
they'll look at lowering it. But if it's in a crappy location,
yeah.
in not in good condition,
Yeah.
they might be looking for $1.30,
$1.35.
$1.35.
Yeah.
And this is before they look at you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about my $6 million deal, which is going to get an appraisal.
Yeah.
The appraisal comes back.
Where's the deal?
The deal is in Toronto. It's your favorite building that I'm buying for $6 million when you listed it for $5 million.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm about to make a mistake.
Yeah.
But the commercial real estate rules dictate that nobody can make a mistake because there's backstops.
Mhm.
There's going to be a third-party appraisal ordered by the bank, not by you. The bank owns the report. They're going to say who goes and does it. Then there's a service ratio. Then they're going to check on you. So meaning me, the buyer.
Yeah.
Has Simeon ran a multiplex before? Does he have experience? Does he have cash in the bank? Does he have other assets to cross collateralize? What does that mean? They're going to put this mortgage and register on my other properties because they don't feel I'm good enough.
Right. They're going to protect themselves, as we've been saying.
Or Simeon's retired. No. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Because we don't have enough faith in you.
Right.
So if the bank doesn't have faith in you and I can't do the deal, now you as a seller are protected to not sell to somebody who can't close. Yeah. Me as a buyer can protect myself from overpaying for an asset that the value is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial real estate changes people because it allows for a lot less error and it allows for risk mitigation and it allows guys like Jacob to be able to gauge and match different strengths in investors to the right properties in the market.
Mm-hmm. And what I want to say, Simeon, is it is important to do your due diligence up front, right? Because you don't want to spend, and this is something we can note as well, you don't want to spend $3,000 on an appraisal.
Or $25,000 environmental.
Or $25,000 on an environmental. Or even another $3,000, $2,500 on a building condition analysis, right? So you don't want to be going, Wild West out here and trying to buy up everything because you think it makes sense. And going, well, don't worry, the bank's going to sort it out for me. I don't need to do anything. Let's just submit. So it is important to do that. And Mary and Carlton will know. One of the first things we talked about was I gave him my cash flow breakdown. And I said, look, this is the debt service ratio, right?
Starting point.
So we're going to go through everything I send you guys, everything you look at on your own, put it into this spread chart. Income, expenses, potential mortgage, and your debt service, yes. Right? And if it's 1%, 50 cents, right? It's let's move on. Or
right.
we have to look at this in a different light and not go down the conventional financing route, right? So I just wanted to say that there is, do your due diligence, quickly look at it, look at that debt service ratio, look at that cap rate and go, hey, does this one make sense to even bring to the bank, or do I need to further investigate this before I start spending money?
I think one of your greatest assets, Jacob, is your ready pro forma. And this is something that we have used for years for all our clients and friends. And I will ensure that it's in the hands of our concierge, and big, huge shout out to Tyler Walburn, always manning the brunch and always taking care of our clients in the back end. Tyler, Jacob will supply you with our templated pro forma, which every single one of the people on this show can use at any given time to run the quick math. It is not to be used to make a decision, but it is to be used to quickly qualify a property.
Correct.
It's another tool and another resource, right?
It's a perfect little template where they can run the numbers, see if they're onto something or not.
Send an email to info@reccanada.com. Subject, just throw it in the subject line, pro forma. And
Jacob's genius
pro forma. Just put pro forma, whatever you like, and we'll make sure that we get that over to you in the next a few days. Let's talk about analyzing deals, right? We always talk about the importance of making sure that you work with a professional. However, REC has never said that you have to work with us. We think we're good. We think we can handle this. We have divisions right across our whole organization. However, we want to equip you to do this on your own. We want to equip you to at least get started on your own, right? If you choose to work with us, that's awesome. Jacob.
I've always said this, Jas.
Yes.
And I'm going to say it again.
Yes.
And I may have learned it from you.
What's that?
I may have came up with it on my own. I'm not sure. But I always say
let's just say you learned it from me. Who cares?
Obviously. Anybody that's worked with me on this call, they'll know. The first conversation I have with them is, and it's maybe cheesy, but it is, we're going to educate you into buying real estate.
Oh, I love it.
Not selling you into buying real estate.
I like that.
And I think this conversation, it had to be said.
Yes.
That's exactly what this conversation is about. Is we're going to give you the tools to go out and buy the real estate on your own, even if you wanted to, right? I always say, hey, if you find something, call me. I'll help you negotiate the deal. But we want to get all of our customers, all of our subscribers, our listeners to that point to say, hey, I'm comfortable looking
empowered.
At this. Empowered. Thank you. That's
an empowered buyer is the best buyer.
They're much easier to work with.
Yes,
much easier to work with. Yes, and so let's talk about that though, right? Let's dive into that. So let's pretend for brunch purposes and podcast purposes that everyone on listening and watching right now is wanting a multiplex. So let's call it 5 doors and above, just for argument's sake. Okay. What are you doing to analyze deals? Let's actually maybe take a step back. How does someone analyze a 5-plex and above? Take us down that path, Jacob.
Yep, sure. And Simeon, pop in anytime you want if I miss something. But I'll run you through my system when I'm looking for a deal personally.
Good.
Because everybody's going to have their own little systems.
Right.
This is what I do when I'm looking for a deal. So, okay, let's say I'm on MLS, right? Just going through MLS, let's find the deal. So first thing is I need to know what is the best asset class, what is the best building type, and what am I personally looking to invest in, right? A very hot commodity, something I'm interested in as well, is purpose-built multifamilies, purpose-built multiplexes. So what does purpose-built mean? It means it was built and designed for the use of a rental building, right? Most of the time, it's going to be concrete construction, brick construction, flat roof, but it just means that the building was built that way. It runs a little bit more efficiently. Your renovation and maintenance cost is going to be a little lower depending on the age, but it's a solid building. So that's personally that's what turns me on. That's what I like. So I'll go through MLS and I'll find these buildings. Okay, there's 5 of these buildings. Grab it. I'm going to get the pro forma or the income and expenses from that building. Very, very first step, right? So that should be the rental income, okay? And it should be the expenses. So expenses are going to be hydro, water, gas. It's going to be your lawn maintenance, which is very important. And a lot of people leave that out, right? A lot of people go,
Snow removal,
cleaning of the hallways, right?
Common area
cleaning,
You bet.
renovation and maintenance.
How do I get this information, boys? How do I even get it? I'm like, I know as Jas and it's easy, but how does somebody watching right now actually get all that information? And a quick follow-up to that is, can I trust where it's coming from?
Good question.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. So you can get it very easily. You can just ask the owner or the listing agent, right? And if they're prudent, if they know what they're doing, they should have at least something.
Okay.
Right? Back of the napkin, Excel, whatever. Verbal, just let me know roughly what the numbers are. Okay. Do I trust it? Not at all.
Okay.
It's worth the paper it's written on,
Okay.
but at least it's a starting point.
Right.
Right. And that's where you have to go. So I get it all. And that comes on again, back of the napkin. Right.
Okay.
So
I think a great point for our entire audience, for them to understand what to ask for.
Yeah.
I think if we were to also share, and I'm creating deliverables, but these deliverables are easy for us to fulfill on because we use literally the same offer, the same commercial offer template for multifam 98% of the time. So I would like us, and I would like our audience to have the opportunity to ask for that. So again, info@reccanada.com and ask for our multiplex Schedule A.
Yeah.
The Schedule A is going to say, the purchaser promises to pay the rest of the balance X. It's conditional on 30 days of due diligence. And then it has a paragraph that says deliverables by the seller. And this is where it says, because the napkin and the Excel are beautiful to do a quick run.
Yeah.
But when we make an offer and we're going to make financial monetary decisions on the data driven, it has to be, I want the property tax bills by the city for the last 2 years, the bills for the last 2 years, common area bills for the last 2 years, lawn maintenance contracts, snow removal contracts, capital repairs, meaning you told me you changed the roof. Where's the invoice?
Yeah.
Is there a warranty? You changed the mechanical. Show me the invoice. Give me the warranty. Did your brother Steve come and do a couple wrenches and now I'm going to have to deal with an exploding boiler? No, thank you.
Yeah.
Where's the invoice? Where's the warranty? These are buildings. These are where people live. The liability is massive if you don't do things properly. This Schedule A will be the roadmap to every single person watching right now. And we will supply that Schedule A because all the things that you were asking about can literally be found in a matter of a 30-second read on page 1 of 4 in that schedule.
Love it.
Now, Simeon, my something back to you here. So because we run into this all the time. What happens if the seller doesn't have that, right? And a lot of the time, I'm just saying a lot of the time, we find these great off-market deals, these deals that are unsolicited, but we've knocked on the door, we've dropped the flyer in the mailbox, whatever it may be. So that guy wasn't prepared, or that girl wasn't prepared to sell the building, but they go, you know what? We are interested in selling the building, right? So,
And they have nothing.
and they have absolutely nothing, right? So I don't want to deter people from those deals. It's just, it's going to be a little bit more heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And
You have to go out and verify it yourself now.
yeah, so that's going to look like market comps for rental, right? What are the rental in the market? The owner should be able to provide you the lease agreements.
Right.
Every owner should do that, or a tenant estoppel or tenant acknowledgement, which is going to be a one-page document that says I
Signed by the tenant.
by the tenant. Yeah, I tenant paid this much a month. My deposit when I moved in was this much. I moved in on this date, and I own my fridge and dishwasher. So when I leave, I'm taking that with me.
Oh, got it.
Right. So it's basically just a summarized lease.
And then,
You know,
and then we know that the landlord / owner is not bullshitting us in
that's
terms
it,
of what
right?
the rents
It's
are.
just, it's getting to the verification of everything.
I love that. I love that.
And just to bolster Simeon's point was, in the performa, right? There's line items, right? In the performa, we'll send everybody. There's line items. If you can't fill in one of those line items, go back to it. Try to find it, right? You should be able to fill in every line item there, right? And even the mortgage line item. Well, call your mortgage broker, call me, call Simeon, call Jas, and just say, hey, what is a 8-plex in Hamilton? What kind of mortgage should I be expecting for this building?
Right.
Because we can quickly fill it in, right? And say it's going to be 75%,
Right.
you know, 2% interest, 30-year AM.
And we
or
can work
whatever it
out
may
the
be.
numbers.
Yeah.
And how about this? This country is one of the leaders in organized real estate on planet Earth. Meaning, when I say organized real estate, even in the United States, you have an extremely fragmented MLS, meaning that everything happens in different ways in different parts of the country. In Canada, it's not.
Yep.
In Canada, we have provincial jurisdictions of real estate, but we also have the Canadian jurisdiction overlooking the realtor.ca website that overlooks data. This is about data. When we do a deal in Hamilton, when we do a deal in Toronto, that's logged somewhere. That data now ends up at the hands of Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, of Altus, of all these data aggregators that produce consumer data that is relevant, important, and crucial to the marketplace. If any one of you were to go to cmhc.ca today, you're going to find 50 different sections on 50 different asset classes, looked at 100 different ways. You literally have at your fingertips, you don't need to spend $1 because it's a federal agency. This is how they do monetary policy based on this data. You have the same tools. So if you were to go Hamilton, 8-plex, average rents, average age, average purchase price, you can find data literally up to 30 days past.
But even more than that, Simeon, average water bills, expenses.
Everything.
How much per door does the 8-plex spend in water? Right. So even if the landlord says, I don't have a single water bill, I don't know where they went, I threw them out.
We can find it.
We can say, well, look, let's use industry standard, which is whatever, 200, 400 door, whatever market it is.
Right.
But so you can go on cmhc.com and use that, or .ca, and use that to fill in those blanks. So there's always a way, there's a backup way, or, you know.
Well, it's just like using 5% for vacancy, 10% for property management, those kind of benchmark standards. If you want to do it exactly, start calling the companies and get quotes. But if you're looking to just run a pro forma to see if something works, get your industry benchmarks, get your industry standards. And there are reliable, incredible outlets of information out there available to everyone, bar none.
And if you have that info, you can, when you're sitting in bed at night going through realtor.ca, you know, just like everybody does, right?
Well, everybody in this room does.
Yeah.
Well, I think real estate websites are visited more than porn sites half the time, right? Like, so,
So
let's go back, because now we know rental income. We've done our best from a verification perspective on the expenses. What else are you doing to analyze a deal, Jacob?
Yeah, so we've gone through expenses, income expenses. We have a good understanding. We feel the debt service ratio is where we need it, 1.25, let's call it. And now it's going to be based on the asset itself. I would look at condition of the building, right? Mechanical of the building, right? We know the building works, but hey, if you got to spend $100K on a new roof next year, well, where's that coming from, right? And does that come off the purchase price? Does that come out of your pocket, off a line of credit, or, you know? And the bank's going to want to know that.
And that's the BCR, the building condition report. It's something we pay for. at our expense typically.
What does that usually go for?
Anywhere between 15 and $3,000, 1,500 to $3,000.
Okay.
And they look at like every single component of the building.
Well, this is an engineer, right?
Right.
This isn't Bob the home inspector.
Got
going
it.
to check the outlets.
It's more of a
thing,
building
right?
inspector.
This is- There'll actually be a schedule at the back of the building condition report,
Okay.
and it will show you a 10-year graph of life cycle on the various items. So the roof, the furnace, whatever, and it will say you need to put $5,000 into the roof every year for maintenance and touch-ups, and then at year 10, you are expected an $80,000 roof repair. Right. Obviously, these aren't set in stone, but it's a great indicator to say.
No,
hey,
it's a great indicator.
It's, this is what I need to spend on my building over the life cycle of the next 10 years. And that just so happens to be the term of my mortgage or something.
Got
like
it.
that, right. So
Got
it's nice. So that would be my next step, right? Building checks out. Everything's in good shape. Obviously, there's some life cycle costs here and there. Every building's going to have it. And maybe even before that, we do an appraisal. We get the appraiser out, right?
Okay.
Get them in.
Now, I also want to speak about in terms of when we're talking about analyzing a deal and a building.
Yeah.
When it comes to location, what are we looking for from a tenant's perspective, right? Because I'm going to be a landlord. I'm going to be owning this building. Am I looking at what's close, like what type of amenities are close by? Who's going to be my tenants? How do I actually do the due diligence
Yeah, I
on
got a
that?
perfect case study for
Okay,
it.
go.
And
Let's
I
go.
was just speaking to Carlton about it last night. I know we keep
Carlton! Carlton!
I love it.
So, very new and upcoming listing.
Okay.
So, just doing my due diligence on it as the listing agent to fully understand the building. But it's a 6-plex. It's on the Hamilton Mountain.
Okay.
Okay, purpose built. Brick and concrete, boiler system, individual hydrometers. So it's kind of that sweet spot for the investor. It's something that I always like to look for.
Okay.
But it's, one of the things that keeps coming up is, there's no parking. Right? There's not a stitch of parking on this
Okay.
building. And it's okay. So is that a negative? Well, this building's located on a main street. Okay. It's down the road. It's a block away from one of the biggest hospitals in Hamilton.
Okay.
It's got a Shoppers Drug Mart up the street. It has a grocery store down the street. It has everything in the area. So knowing that and analyzing that and seeing that it's a walking friendly area. The walking score is through the roof.
Okay.
Parking's not my biggest concern.
Is there transit as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Right, there's a bus stop right outside the building.
Okay,
Parking's not an issue. So that I go, okay, so parking's not a big one. If we're talking about the suburbs, no walking score, no transit. Yeah, parking might be nice.
Right.
Right. You want to look for that parking and say, hey, this is something that's necessary in this neighborhood to get the rents I need.
okay.
Right. And that's the next thing is what are the market rents? Right. Bob in unit 2 is paying $600 a month. Well, that unit should be going for $1,600 a month.
And why would we see a place where Bob is only paying $600 a month in an area where he should be paying?
Yeah,
I don't think the range is going to be that big. Or
Yeah, it is.
or have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, nuts.
That's the Hamilton special.
So-
That's why it's known as one of the best cities to invest in Canada right now, is because of that. Right, historical tenants paying very little rent,
Right,
or buildings that just haven't been upkept.
right.
So 600 is the market rate for a unit in that condition.
What am I going to do as a possible
Great
owner
points.
of this
Those are great
building?
points.
How am I going to get Bob
Mhm.
to pay me my market rent of $1,600 a month? And maybe it's not going to be Bob,
Yeah.
but I want you to talk about what strategies that we have to sometimes implement for our clients and personally for ourselves as well.
That's-
And this might not work for everyone, and you might not be either comfortable with some of these strategies. You might not even be able to do it in some of the buildings for whatever, a myriad of reasons, but we've seen this also work thousands of times. How do we get from $600 a month and we need to be at $1,600 because that's the market rent? Otherwise the building won't make sense. The investment won't make sense, but we love the location.
That's the $1 million question. right?
Okay.
That's a very challenging.
Well, that's what I get. That's why I get paid the big bucks, because I'm supposed to be here to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And really quickly, if you are watching right now and you have questions, guys, this is why I have the phone in front of me. I'm not surfing Instagram. I'm not doing any of that. I'm watching for questions. Throw them in here. Big shout out to always Stephen Rochester, who's behind the 1s and 2s, and he'll make sure the questions pop up on the screen. You could go very high level or go very micro. Maybe you're working a deal right now and you have a question, we want to help you answer it. So Jacob, what's some strategies again that we can, or somebody who's watching can implement when it comes to increasing rents?
Yeah. So in this example, we're talking about the BRRRR strategy, right? And the rehab strategy,
okay,
or the fixer upper, or whatever term you want to use for it, right?
Where there's that big delta between market
That's
price.
correct. Yeah.
So it's going to be an older property because it's old market rents.
Right.
It was neglected. It was left behind.
Yep.
And now we have to play catch up.
Yeah.
So it is part of the rehab strategy.
Yeah.
And that's where you implement those type of scenarios.
it.
What would be your go-to?
And this is the investor, or potentially this is the investor that is looking to grow quickly and is looking for to put as little money in as possible. Now I know that's every investor, but these are the aggressive ones that want to scale. They want 4 or 5 buildings a year and they want to keep moving, or 2 buildings a year and keep moving, right? So strategies, and again, $1 million question, because if you know how to do it, you're going to be very, very well off in this real estate market. But it's everybody's heard cash for keys, right? And I would say that's probably your number one approach.
But you know what, Jacob? In all fairness to a lot of people,
maybe they haven't heard.
They haven't heard of cash for keys, man. It sounds like a car deal or something, right? We're definitely in a real estate bubble here in this room. What is cash for keys? What is that strategy?
Yeah. So cash for keys at the core is you're going to approach and offer the tenant money.
You're going to pay someone to leave.
You're going to pay somebody. I don't know how sensitive I need to be around this.
No, you don't. Look, these are our insiders.
Be politically correct.
We're not on national TV or anything. They can't censor us. I shouldn't say they can't, but I'm sure Zuckerberg can find a way. But we can. I really want to help people here, right? And that's really our job. And somebody's going to be looking at a deal with us. Yeah. And we're going to come across a deal where it is $600 a month for the 5 units. It's only giving us $3,000 worth of income, but it should be $5,000 worth of income, $6,000.
So let's dive into it. Let's dive into it. So cash for keys, the paying a tenant to leave.
Okay.
Right. But exactly like you said, we're here to help people. And it's not, I have so many clients that come to me and go, well, look, I don't want my face in the newspaper tomorrow. Big bad Toronto landlord trying to kick people out of their home for the last 20 years, right? And that's a serious concern. I like a lot of people have brought that to me.
And a lot of people, that's not who they want to be.
No.
It's not like we can make jokes of it or have a giggle about it, but
it's not what I want to be.
That's not what I want to be either.
Never.
So and we haven't.
No. So sorry, I just wanted to get this out and I'll let you talk. So you are helping people. You are helping these people, because a lot of these people, and I've heard stories after stories after stories, including my own, where these tenants feel stuck. I don't want to live in this rundown, crappy unit, and the guy down the hall smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and I got a child in my 1-bedroom apartment, right? They don't want to be in there, but you get stuck in these patterns, and this is a very common story we have with tenants, right? And I just don't even know what the first step is. This is the tenant talking, right? I don't even know what the first step is. Well, look, I'll tell you what the first step is. I'm going to pay your first and last month's rent, and I'm going to have my realtor help you find a new place to live, because this is not suitable for you and your kid. Right. This is not good. Right.
This is real life. This stuff happens all the time,
guys. Real life. So this whole rehab, because we did make a giggle about it earlier, and I want to make sure people understand between a giggle and real life. Real life, when an investor buys something and they want to fix it, and we call it cash for keys, there's a reason.
Yeah.
The people living in there, nobody wants to live in a rundown apartment, and the reason why we've said 1 trillion times rent control does not work, because we've seen rent control all over the world fall on its face, is because now nobody's motivated to fix anything. So now you're becoming a slum market. You're becoming a market of neglect and of everybody cutting corners to make it work. The landlord's going to cut corners. The tenant's going to cut corners. Nobody's going to fix the graffiti. Nobody's going to sweep the common areas. Yeah. Cockroaches are moving in, and et cetera, et cetera. That's how it evolves. That's what rent control produces.
Yep.
Not satisfied affordable homes.
Yeah.
We've seen this.
The market and affordability are tied for other factors, but rent control for anybody who wants to have this conversation, I welcome it all day, because I believe in it that firmly.
Yeah.
Other policy in government things can happen, but rent control hurts the market. We've seen it every single time.
It's a Band-Aid.
Now, our investors are talking about how do I get the tenant out?
Yeah.
It's not about how to get the tenant out, it's how to create wins.
That's it.
It's creating what Jacob was talking about is let me get you and your daughter out of the smoke infested apartment into something that can be affordable, that can work. And that's the only way they're going to leave.
Yeah.
They're not going to leave because you said so or because you gave them 10 grand.
Yeah.
You got to find a solution.
Yeah, to bully people out or to just try to throw cash at it is not the correct way to do it.
Yeah, and
I
people
think that's
do
the
that out
common-
there. People do that out there. You don't have to be one of them. We're not. We've chose not to.
And I
be.
think that's the common misunderstanding. And
Yes,
that's why
I
people
agree.
say, I don't want to be in the newspaper. And
Yep.
you go, no. If you're going to be in the newspaper, it's going to be helping.
It's a positive
helping
story.
people.
Exactly.
Right? Humanitarian comes in to help,
That's right.
And maybe not that extreme, but yes. So my approach with this is always, I reach out to these people in these buildings. Day one, I close on the building, knock on the doors. Hi, I'm Jacob, the new landlord. This building has a lot of deficiencies. I'm sorry about that. The old landlord, I'm coming in, I'm trying to fix this place up. To do that, we really need to turn off the power, to turn off the water. Like, it's not going to be comfortable for you to live here, Jas.
Right.
And I'm willing to help you find a new place, right? What's the chance they say yes and no there? I don't know, but it's no cash
It's a 50-50
offered. No
chance,
cash
right?
offered.
No, that's where you start.
You start with no cash.
You
right?
start with there's uncomfort is coming.
Yes. And
Change is coming.
Yeah, and there's
I like that.
deficiencies
I
in
like
this
that.
building, but change is coming. Are you comfortable finding a new place? Do you need help finding a new place? Do you want me to help you find a new place? Right? Yes, that'd be great. Okay, great. There's one tenant out of the building. Let's sign the N11, right? And so that it's documented. And that's I believe that's right, but that's the termination of lease.
It's one of the ends, and
One
we'll
of
find out
the
for
ends,
sure.
yeah.
Good thing we have a paralegal department
it's-
as well that can help us with that.
I believe it's mutual termination of lease or
Okay.
something like that. We get Bobby in here. Tell us in 2 seconds. So anyways, you sign that, you get the guys out, right? You go to the next door, same story, right? But that guy, he's having he doesn't want to leave. He goes, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like, I don't have money to leave. I turn the power off. I'll live here with no power, right? And I've heard these stories before. And that's where you then bring in that cash for keys scenario, right? It's no, I'm not leaving. I can't leave. I don't have the money to leave. Well, look, Simeon, how about
the smartest people on planet Earth, like in any situation, are the people who listen.
Yeah.
If you don't ask the right question, you will never get the right answer.
That's correct.
If you are a bully, if you are somebody who just says, "Oh, I'll do this, I'll do that," how about you ask the question,
Mhm.
Jas? What is there that I can do to create a win for you?
Yep.
Just stop. Just stop.
Well, I love the open-ended question, right?
Just stop. Let Jas speak. Well, unfortunately, I need $20,000 in a Mercedes Benz.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Great.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's solutions for you.
Yeah,
but now you know.
But just maybe, exactly. And just maybe, Jas will say, I literally need $5,000 to clear some debts because I can get closer to my work. And then I can afford a $1,500 apartment closer to Toronto.
Yeah.
And if I had $5,000, that would change my life. Guess what? Jacob, bring the checkbook.
Yeah.
Here's $5,000. Here's your signed N11. Here is your dream come true. Everybody's happy. You have the unit vacant. You're going to go from 900 to 1800, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And everybody wins.
It's a mutual win-win because you had the mindset
It's
that that's what it's
respect.
going to be.
It is respect.
100%.
It is good communication.
Yeah.
Will always drive wins.
Yeah.
So in landlording, it is crucial that you listen to your client.
Yeah.
To your client. When we ask an insider in a REP a question, we're not asking to answer it for them. I'm going to say, Jas, what is your goal of this real estate action plan today? I want to create more income. I want to create generational wealth. But you tell me what you want
Mhm.
because you are my client. As a landlord in a multiplex, who's your client?
Your tenants.
You listen.
Well, I think in any investment, right? We always say that
Listen.
if when you start, if it could be one condo unit that you're renting out, most of the horror stories, we've been doing this now coming up to 17 years. I think all of us can count horror stories maybe on one hand. There's not as many as people think when you're landlording with tenants, okay? However, majority of those are because the landlord thought they were above the tenant. It's like, you're beneath me, Mr. and Mrs. Tenant. It's the exact opposite of that. The tenant is giving you $10, $15, $35,000 cash in almost like in a briefcase, okay, every single year, because they're giving you the cash flow, your mortgage is being paid down, the value of
all the things,
the value is going up. Be a little nice to them.
And don't be cheap.
Don't be cheap. Give them a $25, $45, $50 gift card to LCBO or Walmart. Help them with treat this like a business and understand from an investment perspective, stuff is going to go wrong. Yeah. There's just like any other business, like Shoppers Drug Mart. I mean, there's external theft. There's internal theft. They don't shut down the store.
Jas, I have seen owners create communities in their buildings.
Yeah.
So I have seen, just like I've seen the biggest pieces of garbage treat their tenants like trash and do all the grotesque things that you hear about in the papers. I've also seen owners do fundraisers across their buildings, meaning toy drives, Christmas trees, pumpkin giveaways, turkeys on Thanksgiving. Why wouldn't you?
It's easier than ever before now. Even if you're in Toronto and your building's in Hamilton and you don't want to take the whatever 30-minute, 40-minute drive, I understand that. Start a Facebook group.
Yes.
123.com, 123, mainstreet.com. On Facebook, you just have a group. Hey guys, let's just stay in touch. It's like the old school neighborhood watch stuff, like you're building that community.
Do it with your other friend investors.
Yeah.
So does Jas have 4 properties and I have 4 properties? Together we have 8?
Yeah.
Create a group.
Yep.
Drop off a couple turkeys and see what happens the next month.
And how much easier is that than battling day in, day out with tenants? Right?
Mindset.
Yeah. Now let's keep going down this path. So now we figured out, okay, we can increase some of the rents. We've looked at the building in terms of what major repairs got done. Maybe we're trying to forecast what major repairs need to get done. Everything's starting to check off now. Okay. Is there anything else that I as an investor / landlord should be thinking about?
Yeah. So and this is going to come back to upside potential, right? And this is why we're moving tenants. This is why we're renovating, what the renovation costs are going to be, right? So, okay, there's CapEx, capital expenditure, which is your roof, your boiler, your big items in the building, asphalt, right? The things that are not going to necessarily increase your rent, but that need to get done. So those are the first things we want to check off the list, right? We know what we have to do. Now it's okay. So Bob in Unit 1 did leave, right? We found him a great place closer to work and he's happy. And now we have this beautiful 2-bedroom unit, but it needs new kitchen, new floor, paint, bathroom, because it hasn't been touched in the last 20 years, right? So let's budget that reno. And this is where it's very important to build relationships in the community with contractors, with suppliers, because it's all great and dandy to go in there and say, yeah, this looks about $25,000, right? And then you find out, oh no, the kitchen's $25,000.
47.
Yeah, right.
It's never the first number that somebody told you or you thought it was.
No.
Ever.
No. And you do it enough times, you can come in and go, okay, yeah, this is going to be about 40K, 50K, 60K a unit. But when your first one or second one or even third one, and I even do it, right? And every time I bring my contractor along, hey, quote it out, right? Quote it out for me. We got 8 units that look exactly like this. What's it going to cost me? 65 a unit. Okay, great. Now we're going to go back and we're going to do that math and say, I'm going to put 65 a unit into this building.
Right.
On a refinance in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whenever you're going to do it. What is the return? Am I going to be able to pull my initial investment out? Yeah. And that's the key. Right, that's the key for growth and rapid growth, right? To buy 3 buildings a year, because it's hard to save up cash to buy 3 buildings at, let's call it $2 million a pop.
Well, unless your name's Simeon Papailias, it's very, very tough to do. I agree, and I love the strategy of fixing up the units and then refinancing, pulling out your cash and getting that tax free. And you can do whatever you want with it. We obviously suggest getting more properties to build out that portfolio. What about like property management? What should we be budgeting for property management? Most of our people here are going to not manage it themselves. Or look, I mean, is that advice that you guys give, right? Like sometimes I say like for a condo, right? As a first-time investor, I personally believe you should manage it for at least a year yourself. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. That's the advice I give to a lot of the people that are watching and listening. And the reason is, especially if you're, in that 45 kilometer, 50 kilometer radius, because you can get to understand what a property manager is actually going to be doing for you later on. Are they charging you? Are they maybe ripping you off? You're only going to know that if you experience it yourself. It obviously, it's tougher slightly if there's 6 units, 7 units, 12 units. What should somebody know when they're looking for a property manager?
Yeah. So it's a good point. I do recommend, if you're comfortable, if you have the time to do it, try to manage it, right? Or learn from your property manager at least, right? But the big thing is time, right? Time and money. Are you going to spend an hour every week driving down to your building, right? When that hour could have been spent at the office making the money that you would have spent on a property manager, right? And I run into this a lot.
Know your worth.
Yes.
Know your capacity of what you can take on.
Yeah.
Hire the right professionals for the right duties. Yeah. That's always the leadership point of you as an investor. You're a leader of your own fate, your portfolio. Yeah. These decisions are crucial. The costs are kind of, I would say the industry standards are pretty right.
And what is that?
8 to 11%.
8 to 11%. So call it that 9 to 10 kind of thing. You're right. You're right around there. And that's 10%. Let's just use that because it's a round number.
It's the best number to use.
10% of the gross monthly rent. Yes. So we have $5,000 coming in. We need to budget $500 a month for property management. You said something earlier, Simos, vacancies and repairs. What do we, let's use the 5 unit as the example. What are we, advising our guys and gals when it comes to vacancy as well as repairs? And let's use also Southern Ontario as kind of our benchmark.
Yeah. So that used to be a number that was more of a national benchmark at 10%, but that is extremely inaccurate for Southern Ontario. It's even more grossly inaccurate in the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
So you want to be respectful to industry benchmarks, but you also can't be an idiot or work towards your detriment by hurting your pro forma.
Yeah.
So if factually Toronto's at 2% for the last decade, or actually less.
We're talking just about vacancies now, right?
Vacancy,
yeah. Okay.
So vacancy repair. So vacancy repair is typically the common line. I would separate it, but you can have it in the same line. Southern Ontario, using more than 3% vacancy, you're just lying to yourself, and you're just hurting your pro forma. Yeah, it's just not true.
It's not paralysis by analysis.
That's right.
Right, you're gonna
repair. You have to be conscious to your building. If your building is an older building, you should be using 6% a year.
Yeah.
Because do the math. If it's $100,000 in income, we're talking about $6,000. $6,000 is $500 a month.
Right.
It's very easy to spend $500 a month on a building. It's actually a joke. So if it needs to come down because it's condominiumized and it's new, if it needs to be higher, that is particular, and you need to, this is where experience comes in.
Well, I like the 10% then, right? I like the 10% for vacancy as well as repairs, because that seems like that's going to be kind of the number. Yes. And it's not being silly to hurt your pro forma, but it's being conservative, and you're also able to forecast properly.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, to add to that, that cost, that line is going to be on top of your capital expenditure.
That's right.
Right. So that building condition report we did earlier, right, still comes into effect. Don't think that's your 10%. We're good. Let's just keep it in the account. Right. But this is the light bulb, smoke alarm battery,
right,
toilet leaking, right, this broken, that broken, little things here and there. That's where that
always come up.
That's where that 500 is going to come in. Right?
Which always, look, if you need a repair done on a stove, by the time you send somebody out there, it's $150, $200 a month, $200 a trip out there.
It's $100 to start the car. They're not going down there for anything less, right?
I think we have gone across many different spectrums of multifamily today.
Yeah,
and I do want to do a tie-in of why these things are important, and why it's not easy. Although, because I'm going to say very clearly that multifamily and apartment building investing is absolutely the best asset class in real estate, bar none. And I'm not saying that for no reason. Every single real estate investment trust, pension fund, all the smart money across the entire globe invests in housing, specifically purpose-built rental apartments. For you as an investor to invest in a 4, 5, 8, 12, 16 plex or more is the best thing you can possibly do. But I will remind you that if it was easy, everyone would do it. And the difference, to bring all this conversation into it, is it depends on the market, on the building, on its specific location, on its tenant pool mix, on the condition of the CapEx, on the after renovated value, the ARV, after renovation value. Different markets have different values. Different markets have different rents after. Some, it doesn't matter, so you'd be wasting the money. Experience is key, just like everything else. Who you work with, and we cannot do every deal in the country. This isn't about us. We have an excellent team doing this here. We would love to represent you here. But there is a million markets in this country. There's millions of you. You need to spend the time, go back to the basics. If you want to get into this asset class, call us. Spend an hour on the phone with us. Doesn't matter if you're in Vancouver, you're going to work with somebody else. We'll tell you who the best person
In
to
Vancouver
work with in Vancouver is.
Yeah, look, I think
Be smart.
we've said this so many times over our 17 years, especially with somebody who's just starting out with investing, is work up the investment property ladder, right? If you're just starting out, we probably wouldn't recommend that you go for a 5-plex right away, right? Because you just haven't got your feet wet enough. Start small. There's nothing wrong with a small little duplex that you can rent out the upstairs, rent out the downstairs, a small little condo, get familiarized with getting financing and working with the tenant. And then as equity starts to grow, and I know this is turning some people off because it's not that get rich quick scheme stuff. It's really, really boring investing into real estate. Okay. However, if you just hold on to it long enough, values will go up. There'll be some slight dips here and there, but they'll start to go up. You pull out the equity and then move to the next stage. So if you started with a duplex, hey, let's try our hand at a 3-plex or a 4-plex, and
How about
then
you give yourself
move
an
up.
opportunity to fail?
Yeah.
If you don't fail, and this is common knowledge. If you're in this to only succeed, you pick the wrong game.
Yeah, but Simos, I mean,
You
just to
need
your
to-
point, how would somebody really even fail in real estate, right?
Pick the wrong tenant. I want you to.
Yeah.
Learn the value of your time, because when you thought tenanting and doing a Kijiji ad and they called you and they were so nice on the phone, they were so nice. They weren't nice. They fooled you. They were a crook, and you didn't do your job. You have to learn those lessons early. You get into a 6-plex, if you got duped on a little condo, you're never going to get duped again.
Yeah.
But until you get duped, you're not going to always point the finger, oh, my property manager did it. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it. You allowed your property manager to be a fool. You picked the wrong property manager.
Now, I want to touch on something that you said earlier as well, Simos. You said about the pension plans and the REITs. I was on a call about like 5-7 days ago, and someone was saying, why in the world are people buying buildings in the city of Toronto for $5 million, $6 million when you can go out to a little further out, right? And get something for $2.5, $3 million. You know, I know why I believe that you should still be buying in Toronto if you have the capital, but what's your guys' thoughts around that? Like, why are we still seeing people invest their money into Toronto compared to even the Hamiltons or other areas like in the Niagara regions?
I'm happy to give my opinion, my
Go.
2 cents on it. It's very simple. I am one of those people. So I can speak for myself, and this is my opinion. I believe in the city of Toronto. I believe that I believe the data which shows that we are short in Ontario 1 million homes. I believe my federal government, when they commit to bringing in 400,000 new immigrants to the country, and I know 200,000 are going to come into Ontario, 150 to 180 of those thousand are going to be in the GTA. So I trust that data. I don't think they're lying. So if you trust that data, I don't care how much real estate is, it's going to cost more tomorrow. It's going to cost a lot more next year, a lot more the year thereafter. And the reason for that, and I know it is a fact, factually, to me, this is my opinion, is because I know as a fact that the government, both municipal, provincial, and federal, have not figured out a single damn thing on how to actually address the supply issue. They're talking about it. They're making promises about it. It was a hot button election issue just a month and a half ago. But to this very moment right now, we've been practicing for 15, 16 years.
17.
17 years. I have no hair and my salt and pepper beard is here now. Great.
But somehow you got a little prettier.
That's right. A lot prettier. Has a single thing changed? Has a single thing changed? So it has not changed. As a matter of fact, it has gotten worse. And I do believe, my personal opinion, it will not be figured out. There's an election coming up in June, again, provincially. So by the time anybody tries to make a move, it's election time.
Yeah.
And everything that the last person did wiped off the table. And then the new ideas. And the problem keeps getting exasperated up. And investors like myself, I put my money on investors like myself and myself. I bet on me. We're going to make a lot of money in the next decade. And I mean a lot.
Jacob, what's your thoughts on that, buddy?
No, 100%. And then just to answer the question about the pension funds and the big REITs and all that is they have their fixed returns, right? They need to give out their return, whether that's 3%, 4%, 5%, and they got oodles of money, right, to spend.
Well, they're spending 10 years down the road.
Exactly. But
they're spending with the market in 10 years.
Yeah. But they have risk analysis specialists that look at these markets and go, okay, I'm spending the teacher's pension fund, right? We got how many X amount of people? I don't know, but a lot, right? And we have the money to do it. So what feels safer? Investing in, getting a safe 3% return in Toronto, or going to a mining town in Northern Ontario to get 25% return with the risk that in 5 years that mine goes dry and that building is empty, right? So it's simply risk versus reward. And when you have the money and you don't need to get the returns into the 15, 16, 20%, they're going to go Toronto, and it's going to keep being Toronto for the reasons that Simeon just mentioned, right? So
stability and certainty in its dysfunction.
Yeah. And you said, the magical word returns, right? If you're an investor watching and listening right now and you're wondering, well, what are my returns on some of these multiplexes? If you look at, for us, we always talk about the 4 ways you win in real estate, but I also talk about the fifth, which is, the tax advantages and all that. But if you just look at the 4, the cash flow, the active appreciation, the passive appreciation, and the mortgage / principal pay down, what are some of the returns that we're seeing? Like, where are we at? It's not 4 or 5%. I obviously know that you would get with investing into a REIT, which I don't think that there's anything wrong with it, but we're talking to investors who want to do this themselves. What's kind of the returns that you're seeing?
For the investors themselves, depending on how aggressive you want to be, maybe that mining town is the right move for you, because in 5 years you're in and out. You've flipped 50% of the building. You've increased your income by X amount and you're out. So what we're seeing, and at least what I'm done on my recent deals and some of our clients, is we're looking at the 4 ways to win returns of easy 25% plus.
Yeah. So
I would say minimum 25%.
And I like that you said minimum, because if it goes into the 16s and the teens and the 17s, I think there's other type of investments that you can buy, you can look at, right?
You can go turnkey with
100%,
right? If you just buy that fully renovated building, and you're not going to spend $100K on the roof, or you don't have to do cash for keys for your tenants, hey, 16% isn't bad. It's better than your savings account.
Oh, well,
Like,
100%. No, just be prepared to pay a lot more for that type of building, right? That's
Right.
You're getting it turnkey. You're getting all the repairs done. You're getting the tenants at the higher market rents. I mean, that's why you're going to be paying a lot more for that type of building.
But when you're buying that type of building, what I like to mention and I like to reiterate a lot is when it's a turnkey building like that, you can look at it more as an investment, a passive investment almost. And I want to say passive's not the right word, but definitely more hands off. You can hire a full-fledged property manager, operational manager for 10%, right? You can buy the building. You can live in Toronto. The building could be in wherever, Tillsonburg or whatever you want to say, and you just let it ride, right? And hey, that building, the life cycle on that building is 40 years plus. I got a CMHC mortgage that's in there for 40 years. With a 10-year fixed term. In 10 years, I'll look at it again and go, where am I at with this? Does it make sense to sell and put another $2 million in my pocket? $5 million with the way the market's going now? Or do I just keep riding it out for another 40 years, right? And it's because we spoke a lot about the BRRRR strategy and the fixer-upper type. So I wanted to mention that as well, that there's no bad investment. It's just all dependent on your situation. And what you're looking at. Right?
And that's what the REIPs offer, the real estate action plan that REC Canada coined. We've been doing this for years. A lot of people who are watching live right now, but there's thousands who are watching the recording that you haven't reached out, and there's no cost for this. It's a conversation with someone on our team to figure out what you're trying to accomplish. Yes. We'll sit down and see what options and ways that we might be able to help. Simo's put it out, we can't help everyone. And then from there, we'll go to the next step. And that might be, hey, we should sit down and do a very ultra passive investment, i.e. we can put you in touch with somebody who does private lending, land development deals. It could be a new build condo. It could be a resale condo. It could be a duplex, triplex, or a multiplex, and right up to really anything with about 25 to 30 doors. We can sit down with you to go through that process, and all you have to do is send an email to info@reccanada.com, subject line REAP. We couldn't make it any easier. When we were talking about values, I mean, one thing that came to mind is I just saw an image of gas in Florida. It's about $8. Okay. And here right now, our regular gas here in Toronto, I think we're at about $1.50-ish. The one thing that a lot of people don't speak about, which is the silent killer, why we see values continue to grow up. It's a lot of what Simos was talking about, 400,000 people coming, 200,000 of them are going to come into the GTA. We don't have supply. Like, we've said this and we talk about it a lot. But the one thing that really guarantees you success in real estate, guys, is the fact that the silent killer is a simple word called inflation. And that's the reason that the dollar store is no longer the dollar store. It's the $2 store, right?
But let me add something. It's not just real. It's the beginning of time. It's only commodities that can actually protect you from inflation, whether it's gold, whether it's real estate, whether it's copper, whether it's whatever it is you believe in.
Bitcoin?
No comment? Absolutely no comment, and absolutely not.
Go.
That isn't. No, not Bitcoin.
Go.
Gold, real estate, commodities that have protected wealth since the beginning of time. I'm talking about the Romans and the Greeks. Since property ownership existed, is the only asset, is the only investment strategy that can protect from inflation. And in hyperinflation, even that can be at risk. But in inflation, there is not a single tool, a single strategy, a single anything that can maintain par and carry you through an economic turmoil and bring you safely back down once it resolves itself one way or another. So when Jas is saying the silent killer, if you are not watching the consumer index, which is what inflation is made by, if you haven't noticed gas at $1.50, maybe you have too much money.
Well, be prepared. Be prepared that it's going to $2.
When you pick up a pack of meat that used to be $10, it's $20. literally.
Yeah.
Literally, because gas doubled. So for the farm to run, for the meat to be delivered and processed and logistically put across, it's doubled, guys. We are seeing inflation and its ruin right now. And real estate is the only thing that can safely take you through to the other side.
I mean, I don't know what better way to end our brunch today other than Mr. Jacob Campagnaro. Congratulations on your new podcast. What is it called? Where can people find it? They probably want to see and hear your handsome voice more than me and Simos now. Where can people find it? What is it called?
So podcast called Jake's Take. It can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcast, pretty much
YouTube,
everywhere that podcasts are. YouTube. You can also just go to my Instagram.
Awesome.
Jacob_Campagnaro. And it's right there at the top.
Go check his Instagram profile out. Go press the follow button. I know his friends and family love that kind of stuff. So make sure to go press it because he's putting out a lot of content on just education as well. Make sure to go check out Simos's Instagram page as well as mine. We have a lot more content that comes out there on a daily basis. And if any of it is salesy, you shoot us a comment and let us know because that's just not what we do. It really is all about education based. Not too long ago, we came out with a book. If you haven't got your copy of the book, just simply info@reccanada.com and put in the subject line book. This book actually teaches people. We're real estate brokers, guys and gals. We're not hiding that. However, this book teaches you how to buy on your own, how to sell on your own, how to invest on your own. Because as Simos mentioned earlier, the more that you're informed, the easier it becomes to work with you. And chances are, I'll peel back the curtains, if we're the ones who did the education, chances are you're going to come back and tell your family and friends about us. And so we always love that. Jacob, any last words? Simos always signs us off at the end, but any last words for the insiders, brother?
No, for sure. So I'll let Simeon still sign us off, but I do want to say what I'll do with the Performa is I'm going to do
and Schedule A. We'll get them
the Schedule A and the Performa. So don't forget about that. But what I'll do is I'm going to run through, and whether it's just me on my computer, I'm going to do a little 10-minute video on how to fill out the Performa and where you can quickly get the data. Just because when we send it out, a lot of people go, okay, are these numbers accurate, right? And it's the mortgage is at 3%. Well, that's just the placeholder. But no, in your neighborhood, the mortgage is actually closer to 1.3%, right? For a residential or so anyhow, I'm going to do that. Maybe that's with Jas as well.
We'll figure that out. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Let's get that done very
I did
soon.
want to say that and not sign off before saying that. So with that Performa, with that Schedule A, it's also going to come with that little video of how to properly fill it out.
Again, I just wanted to thank Mr. Jacob Campagnaro, always my boy Simos, and also Stephen Rochester and Tyler, and I saw Bobby Pume walk around here as well. Big shout out to the whole team, our 54 agents. You guys are out and about every single day. Half of you are probably just watching this on your phone in the car. Make sure you drive safely. For me, have a very, 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 very safe weekend. Simos, do your thing, brother.
I want to just quickly acknowledge, because I wanted to do this in the beginning. We had almost 24 of our insiders actually firm up on their deals. Big shout out to Art, Anna, Donna, Lori, Zachary, John, Christina. Always, she's an Air Canada captain. And every time I speak to her, I just think of what her life is like and just flying around everywhere. So God bless you, Christina.
Reminds me of Catch Me If You Can.
That's right. Brent Phillips out in the West Coast. Anyways, I want to thank all the insiders for putting their faith in us, for trusting us. We're honored and humbled to represent you always. I want to just say again what Jas said. Everybody have a wonderful, safe weekend. It's beautiful fall weather out there. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you in just a couple weeks.